Go ahead, Jody.
We're going to move now to public safety. And there was some breaking news from the New York Times that you, Mr. Mamdani, would ask Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch to stay on as police commissioner if you are indeed mayor. I wanted to confirm if that was true. And for Mr. Cuomo and Mr. Sliwa, would you ask the current police commissioner to stay on if you were elected? So, Mr. Mamdani, we'll start with you.
Yes, I can confirm that reporting. My administration will be relentless in its pursuit of safety and affordability for every New Yorker. And the delivery of that will require us to put together a team of the best and the brightest. Eric Adams stacked the upper echelons of the NYPD with corruption and incompetence. Commissioner Tisch took on a broken status quo, started to deliver accountability, rooting out corruption, and reducing crime across the 5 boroughs. I've said time and again that my litmus tests for that position will be excellence, and the alignment will be of that position. And I am confident that under a Mamdani administration, we will continue to deliver on that same mission and do so while creating the Department of Community Safety to ensure that mental health experts were the ones responding to the mental health crisis. Because safety and justice is at the cornerstone of our pursuit of public safety, and in doing so, we will also be able to deliver our agenda for affordability.
Thank you. And very briefly, quickly, Mr. Sliwa and Mr. Cuomo, would you ask Commissioner Tisch to stay on if you were elected mayor?
Yes, I would, for stability. But then again, I don't think she would serve with either Cuomo or Zohran because she has railed against no cash bail. Cuomo, the architect of no cash bail, Zohran, the apprentice of no cash bail. That's why criminals are running in the street.
And Mr. Cuomo, would you ask her to stay on?
I would ask her to stay on. I don't believe Zohran when he says he would ask her to stay on. The DSA's position, his position has been to defund, disband the police. She wouldn't take that. His current position, today's position, was freeze the budget. That would cause a reduction in police. She has called for more police. I've called for more police. Mayor Adams has called for more police. Their
you mean to tell me that a current cop, a former cop, and a cop meat writer are all calling for more police, even though, time and time again, we are fucking reminded of the fact that police do not stop crime from happening. Policing is a reactive mechanism to crime, not a proactive mechanism to crime. You can hire 5,000 more fucking police officers to play Candy Crush on their phone in Penn Station, but ultimately, they're not doing anything because you are not getting to the root of why crime happens. You are not treating it as a social problem. You are not treating it as an economic problem. Moreover, when these cops are forced to respond to a mental health incident, they are not properly trained on how to deal with that situation. Zohran's approach to this is infinitely more productive than anything that these two fucking goons are proposing.
Totally incongruous. DSA calls for eliminating misdemeanors. He wants to decriminalize prostitution. I don't think she would support any of that.
Well, we can't speak for her. She's not here. But I will ask the public safety question. And we'll start with you, Mr. Sliwa. The issues of crime and disorder on the streets. The NYPD says the crime is going down in all major categories, or most major categories. But to New Yorkers, they're still concerned with disorder and their own unique perception of crime. Do you think addressing quality of life concerns helps prevent more serious crimes? And how would you deploy the city's police force to deal with those serious violent crimes and also quality of life offenses like disorderly conduct and retail theft? Mr. Sliwa.
First off, I've been in all 350 neighborhoods. I'm the only candidate that's on the subway each and every day. I've yet to hear from one New Yorker who said they feel safer either in the subways or the streets. And Eric Adams constantly heckling at us like it's the perception. No, it's the reality of crime. We need 7,000 police officers. This is
so funny to say because the reality of crime is that crime is going down. But someone's perception is their reality. And the reason that people feel unsafe is because of the constant propaganda surrounding crime. It's all right-wing messaging that portrays these places out to be crime-ridden hellscapes. When the fucking police departments and the fucking FBI come out with data that says otherwise. Folks have been conditioned to believe this because of things like the Citizen app, of the Ring app. They think that crime is happening all the time, when that is just simply not the case.
Staff. We need to get police officers in the subways actually patrolling the moving cars where people are most threatened and most frightened. And we need to bring back the homeless outreach unit that was disbanded when de Blasio took $1 billion out of the budget. These were men and women police officers who already had with them medical nurses and healthcare practitioners, but it was de Blasio who abolished it, and they've been talking about bringing something back ever since, but they never do it. Because I'm out there in the subways every day and I never see it. And when I'm mayor, it gets done on day one. The homeless outreach
Yeah, no
unit
shit, no one
is
did
put
it because
back into
Eric
the
Adams is a
NYPD.
fucking
Thank you,
former
Mr.
cop.
Mamdani.
You know, when I hear from New Yorkers of where they feel least safe, they will often tell me the subway system. And when they explain those moments to me, what they are often explaining is a mental health crisis in our
thought
city
he was gonna
and a
say
crisis of
around Andrew
homelessness
Cuomo.
that has only continued to grow. And that is why, at the heart of our public safety agenda, is a groundbreaking proposal to not only reduce crime, but address these very moments of unease for New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs by creating a Department of Community Safety that will be focused on the mental health crisis, focused on homelessness, and will ensure that police officers can focus on serious crimes. Because in 2020, the response time for those officers was less than 11 minutes. Today, it's closer to 16 minutes. And that's because every year, they are now responding to 200,000 mental health calls when those are calls that could by and large be taken by experts trained on responding to that very crisis.
Thank you, Mr. Cuomo.
The answer is always a new government agency. It's manage the system, manage the public safety system. We know how to do this. Mayor David Dinkins did it when we had a real crime problem. Hire more police officers. Of course, you have to deal with the mentally ill. Of course, that requires mental health specialists with police, because the situation can be dangerous. But hire the 5,000 more cops, because they're all quitting, because they're getting worked too hard. You're going to have to raise the starting salary, because nobody wants to be a cop today, the way they're treated. Put 1,500 in the subways. Forget this Zohran idea of not prosecuting misdemeanors. Prosecute misdemeanors. Those are quality of life crimes. And that's very important. Yes, the subways are scary, but it's scary in their neighborhood too. Those quality of life crimes also have to be addressed.
Mr. Mamdani.
Andrew Cuomo is so fucking bad at this. He is objectively the third worst person on this screen. Curtis Sliwa is running laps around him like he's fucking Noah Lyles and he's a fucking baby. He doesn't say anything. His answer is always to just keep doing the status quo. Motherfuckers do not want the status quo anymore, Andrew Cuomo. Read the fucking room. The status quo is why we are currently living in a deteriorating fucking country in 2025. That applies to state and local politics as well. You're making up, you're just like flat out making shit up while not providing a real solution to anything. You can, as I said 3 fucking times already, you can put as many fucking cops as you want in the subway. They're not gonna fucking solve anything because you're not treating crime at the root of the fucking problem.
No matter how many times Andrew Cuomo describes it as my idea or my policy, I have never once stated that we were not going to prosecute misdemeanors. And that is what you see from the former governor, is someone who spends more time talking about the platforms of other organizations and other individuals than the one that I've actually put forward or the one that he is supposed to be running on.
Now we'll hear from Brian for another question.
Excuse me 1 second. Can I just respond to that accusation?
When it's misdemeanors or felonies, no cash bail releases them back into the streets, and both of you afford no cash bail.
I want to move on. You'll get your opportunity.
No cash bail doesn't mean that you get released as soon as you commit a fucking crime. The Republican Party just continues to propagandize it like this. And for some reason, the Democrats just have no interest. Like, no Democrat has any interest in rebuking this point. No cash bail means that if you're unable to bail yourself out, a judge will look at your case and determine whether or not you are a flight risk. They will look at your case and determine whether or not you should be allowed back on the street. Like, no cash bail applies mostly to crimes of opportunity.
I think, because I want to bring up a particular crime concern, and that is violence among younger New Yorkers, specifically teenagers. My question is, what is your stance on the statewide Raise the Age law, which increased the age of adult criminal responsibility from 16 years old to 18 for most crimes? Police Commissioner Tisch says, quote, the mentality on the street is that nothing happens to those under 18 who possess a gun. So would you support modifying Raise the Age in any way? And Mr. Mamdani, since you just announced that you would invite Commissioner Tisch to stay on, would you go along with her on this?
I would not support changes to the state's legislation, and I would not support them because the major issue with the implementation of that legislation has been the fact that there is hundreds of millions of dollars that was supposed to be delivered alongside that law that is still languishing in Albany. And I am excited to be the next mayor of the city to finally fight for the money that the city is owed to ensure that we deliver it to our young people across the 5 boroughs.
Mr. Cuomo.
What I was referring to before is Zohran is a member of the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. They have a charter. He gives them 3% of his salary. He has said multiple times, I'm a DSA member, I pledge allegiance. They say abolish jails, defund police, don't enforce misdemeanors. Go to my website, andrewcuomo.com. It's right on the front page. Now, is he lying to the DSA? Is he lying to New Yorkers? Is he lying to everybody? Who knows? On the raise the age, I passed the law. I support the law. We were one of only 2 states that put 16 and 17-year-olds in adult prisons. It was inhumane. It was cruel and unusual, and I'm proud of that law. It's administered by local governments. Some are doing it better than others. If Zohran thought that there was money locked up in Albany, maybe he should have gone to Albany and proposed a bill to release it.
That's crazy to fucking trot around that you put 16 and 17-year-olds in a fucking adult prison. You sound like a fucking dictator. We are once again having a conversation about crime and talking about punishment as opposed to crime prevention. You have to invest in these impoverished and disenfranchised communities. You have to open up after school programs. You have to create parks with basketball courts and playgrounds, and you have to fund like clubs and initiatives at these schools so that children have shit to do. Additionally, when crime does happen, you have to make sure that the NYPD actually fucking solves this crime, because as we see in places like Chicago, a reason why people go out and commit crimes is retaliatory, and it's rooted in vengeance, because the mentality is that, well, the police aren't going to fucking do anything about it, so I have to take this into my own hands. But no, you should not be sending minors to adult prisons for whatever fucking crime they commit. Do you not understand the trauma and how psychologically damaging that is to a fucking teenager? You are setting this young man up for failure for one fucking mistake that he made as a 16-year-old. Oh my God, we are such a fucking barbaric country that this is even a fucking talking point.
Once again, the architect of Raise the Age, Governor Cuomo, the apprentice to him, Zohran. It's personal for me. My oldest son, Anthony, last October was the victim of a vicious gang assault that could have killed him. And what happened to these juveniles? Cut free, because they went to family court, not criminal court. So how can both of you look at me? I almost lost my oldest son to gang violence, and the perpetrators went to family court and got a little pat on the wrist and was sent home to do it again and again. No. We need to start charging juveniles who commit violent crime in criminal court, and I'll appoint criminal court judges who follow the law and don't just release them because of no cash bail.
Clear difference between you on that. Ms. Errol, you pick it up.
Okay, candidates, I've got individual questions for you, and we're going to try and pick up the pace a little bit here. I'd like you to really just explain kind of where you're coming from. Mr. Mamdani, you've called for reorganizing the NYPD to create this Department of Community Safety that, among other things, would handle calls involving people in mental health distress. Your opponents have disparaged this as sending social workers rather than cops into dangerous situations like domestic violence disputes. Explain really what you have in mind, and please include any evidence that this approach would work.
Absolutely. What my opponents are clinging to is the past, because that's all that they know. What I am proposing is something that will address the needs of New Yorkers in the present. We speak and hear from New Yorkers.
At no point has anyone been asked to present evidence for any of their policies until Zohran Mamdani right now. So let's just see. Let's be made aware of where the moderators sit in this regard.
The 5 boroughs who outline how the mental health crisis is one of the major challenges in this city. And yet what we have in our city is asking those same police officers who are being asked to respond to shootings, respond to murders, to also respond to these calls. I trust the dispatchers who would be receiving these calls to make the determination as to whether there was any indication of violence. If there is no indication of a threat of violence, then we would set the mental health experts and providers to respond to those same incidents. The reason I believe in the efficacy of this approach is because of the fact that it has been delivered elsewhere in the country. So no matter how often you hear those on this stage tell you that something cannot be done, know that there are others in this same country who have seen it, and it is time for that same policy to come to New York City.
Okay, Mr. Sliwa and Mr. Cuomo, I have a similar question for both of you. The department currently fields about 33,000 officers, down from 37,000 in 2018. Public safety budget approaching $10 billion. Mr. Sliwa, you want to hire 7,000 more cops. Mr. Cuomo says 5,000 more cops. Each of you make the case for why you think that's necessary, especially given the fact that for much of New York City, crime declines over the last 20 years happened while the size of the force was also declining and not rising.
Errol, I have to revisit the last debate for a second when Zohran was basing this policy on what they do in Eugene, Oregon. You've never been to Eugene, Oregon. I have. Are you out of your mind? And then Columbus, Ohio. This is New York City, a major metropolitan area with thousands of 911 calls, domestic abuse, emotionally disturbed persons, and you want to have social workers go out there and risk their life. And by the way, they're not going to get the results that a trained professional police officer can get. That's why we so desperately need 7.
Police officers aren't trained in social work, you dumbass. Police officers barely get enough training to do fucking police officer shit. They barely get enough training to fucking solve crime. And you think that sending a police officer who has a fucking firearm to a mental health call is the appropriate response? What are you, like, what the fuck? That's just not true. That's just not true. Yeah, if someone is having a mental health episode, they need a mental health professional to fucking help them. When someone has a mental breakdown, where do they go? They go to a fucking mental health institution where there are mental health professionals available to help them. They don't go to a fucking podiatrist. Oh my God. Like, Curtis Sliwa is still a Republican. Like, and he's still, like, that means that his policies, some of them simply don't make any sense.
1,000 new cops. We'll use the Boston model, which is pay now in lieu of taxes. They do it at Harvard University and the other university. We'll raise $1 billion, get them vetted, trained, and out into the streets so they can be seen in all the neighborhoods, and most importantly, do the job they were sworn to do. And I will make sure that their insurance, the qualified immunity that was stripped from them, the only civil servants who are not protected by the taxpayer, is returned so that they can freely go out and do what they were trained to do, is to protect all of the people of New York City.
He's talking about stop and frisk, by the way, which overwhelmingly impacts black and brown communities.
Okay, Mr. Cuomo.
There is nothing new here. We've had mentally ill, homeless people going back.
How come the moderators aren't asking them about the decline in crime? How come the moderators aren't asking Curtis Sliwa or Andrew Cuomo to explain how this is actually going to continue to have crime drop, even though the evidence is that you don't necessarily need more cops for a decrease in crime? Why is that? That's interesting.
The Billy Boggs case, right, under the Ed Koch administration. I ran homeless services, not just for David Dinkins, but also for President Clinton. I've worked in every state, all the large cities, on all homeless programs. I've spent dozens of nights out trying to bring mentally ill people in. It can be done with mental health workers and police workers. You cannot tell from a phone call if a person is going to be dangerous. And I have seen personally many times a person who seemed very calm and sedate explode into rage. Why? Because this is sometimes a symptom of mental illness. So there's nothing new here. It just has to be done.
And you think that sending a police officer who has no de-escalatory training is going to be able to prevent that explosion better than a trained social worker?
Managed. Yes, you need more police. You need more police, first of all, Errol, because they're quitting because there are not enough to staff the force, and they're working overtime and weekends, and their family life is destroyed. So you have the highest attrition rate in modern history. You have to hire 5,000 just to slow down the attrition.
Okay, thank you, candidate.
40,000 beds for mental health in the state hospital system. By the time you fled fearing impeachment, you cut the budget down to 4,000 beds. Shame on you for putting those emotionally disturbed persons in the street.
You don't know what you're doing. Well, there's one bet I'm going to say for you, but no one is saying about, to go back to Willowbrook. That's when there were 40,000 people in mental institutions. Yeah. We left that 40 years ago when we went to community-based housing.
We're going to stay in this century, guys. Yeah. The next, we're going to do our lightning round where each candidate will answer our questions with a brief response, usually yes or no. I'm going to do the first couple. Candidates, if you had the power, would you keep, kill, or modify the congestion pricing program? Just say one of those words. Keep, kill, or modify. Mr. Sliwa.
One and done. Dead.
Mr.
Wrong.
Mamdani. Keep.
Yes.
Keep. Okay. Would you expand, decrease, or keep the same number? Mamdani. Keep. Okay. Would you expand, decrease, or keep the same number of so-called safe injection?
Congestion pricing was a huge fucking success. I don't know why you would want to get rid of it. The people who live in fucking New York loved congestion pricing because there was less pollution. There were less fucking cars on the road. There was less noise pollution. And it's a fucking revenue generator. And by the way, it doesn't fucking impact low-income earners because they give you the opportunity to be exempt from paying the fee. Congestion pricing was a massive success after implementation, after all of this skepticism. If to kill it is to kill what New Yorkers want.
Sites for drug users in the. Would you expand, decrease, or keep the same number of so-called safe injection sites for drug users in the city, Mr. Mamdani?
Can you say the options again?
Expand, decrease, or keep the same?
Keep the same.
Expand.
Mr. Cuomo.
Keep.
Close them down.
Wrong.
Wrong.
Wrong. Safe injection sites are overwhelmingly beneficial. You don't experience as many overdoses because the drug user is able to administer these drugs in a safe, protected environment while being observed by a medical professional, while also receiving treatment, while also receiving rehabilitor. While also receiving rehab treatment.
Two mayors proposed
To get rid of them is cruel. This is one of my issues with Curtis Sliwa. He is only accepting of specific groups of marginalized people. He has seemingly such compassion for mental health people or for people who are dealing with mental health conditions. He highlighted Andrew Cuomo's reduction of beds in mental health hospitals. Whatever the specific situation may be, I believe that his heart is in the right place. Why do you not extend that same compassion for drug addicts? Why do you not understand the fact that being a drug addict is a mental health problem? Why do you not want them to get the help that they need to get off of these drugs?
1% of the city budget for parks. Will you make the same pledge here tonight, Mr. Sliwa?
And another 2%. Keep your hands off the parks, you greedy developers.
1%.
Mr. Cuomo. 1%. Okay.
2%.
Okay.
All right.
Another lightning round question. The city recently enacted a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit for e-bikes. And, of course, there are the other motorized two-wheelers that also frequently ignore red lights and other traffic laws. If you were mayor, would you direct the NYPD to ramp up speeding tickets and other moving violations on the motorized two-wheelers, Mr. Cuomo?
Yes. Look, this is a dangerous situation for many people.
Mr. Mamdani, yes or no?
I would actually build on the city council's progress in holding the apps accountable like DoorDash and Grubhub to ensure that there weren't incentives for breaking those street traffic
So
laws.
you would not increase ticketing the riders?
I do not think the police should be the ones dealing with the failures of these app companies.
Mr. Sliwa?
License them, register them, and yes, do enforcement on them.
All right.
I got a hot take, guys. I kind of agree. I fucking despise the fact that cyclists feel that they are exempt from traffic law. Obviously not all cyclists, but the cyclists that believe that they don't have to abide by any fucking traffic violations, oh my god, it drives me fucking insane because they are putting not only themselves at risk, but other people. So yeah, maybe the NYPD should give out a few more speeding tickets. That's my hot take.
There is a ballot question to align mayoral election years with presidential election years in the future. Do you support this, Mr. Sliwa?
Absolutely not. All the attention would go to the presidential election, not to the mayoral election and all the down-ballot elections, all of our city council people.
That's a no, Mr. Mamdani.
I haven't yet taken a position on any of the ballot referendums.
Oh, shocker.
Again?
Again and again and again. Yes.
I mean, like, who gives a fuck about that? Honestly, who cares? I understand what Curtis Sliwa is saying, but ultimately, who gives a fuck? It's New York City. They're like, people are gonna come out and vote anyway. And it would, like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah, who gives a shit? There are other things to worry about here. There are other problems with New York City aside from when the fucking election year is.
First question, do you support having a casino in the 5 boroughs, like it's a full casino, and do you have a favorite among the 3 current contenders?
No.
Mr. Sliwa.
No, only if the community wants it.
Mr. Mamdani.
I'm personally skeptical of casinos, but voters did choose to bring them to New York City, and unlike Andrew Cuomo and Donald Trump, I don't view the law as just a suggestion.
Do you have a favorite of the 3?
No, I don't have favorites of casinos.
Mr. Cuomo.
I do not. I have not reviewed the proposals. I was not in. I did not vote.
It's not so hard to say.
I did. Let me just so you understand some facts. I did not vote to bring the casinos to New York City. I did casinos in upstate New York as economic development measures. I had no part of these 3 casinos, how they were done. I think it's highly problematic, and I think there's going to be a lot more.
There was a back before I moved in Nassau County, there was a casino. There was a developer who was looking to build a casino in Nassau County, and the public overwhelmingly fucking rejected it. I personally don't see the need for a casino in New York City. Like, I would be opposed to that as well. But if the people vote for it, if New Yorkers voted for a casino to be built in New York City, I would not stand in front of that as much as I disagree with it, because ultimately, if they want to go out and gamble, that's up to them. As long as it is put in a spot that doesn't compromise a part of the city that already exists.
If this was a ranked choice,
You and Zohran can't answer a straight question.
If there was a ranked choice election, how would you vote, Mr. Mamdani?
If there was a ranked choice election,
In this, you'd have to rank these.
myself number 1 and Curtis number 2.
Mr. Sliwa.
Oh, please don't be glazing me here, Zohran.
Oh my God.
Are you kidding?
Mr. Sliwa, do you want to have
I support ranked choice voting, but I'd only vote for myself.
Mr. Cuomo?
I love that Zohran and Curtis ticket idea. I don't know. I'm just enamored with it. I would just rank myself.
That would be a really fascinating ticket idea. That would be really interesting.
Mr. Mamdani.
No. I would also put myself first and then Curtis second, because I don't want Andrew Cuomo to be mayor at all. I don't want Curtis Sliwa to be mayor either. But Andrew Cuomo, I think, would be objectively worse for New York City than Curtis Sliwa, and I said this last week, or in the last episode I did when we talked about the first mayoral debate.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes, I would.
Mr. Sliwa.
Absolutely not. Put that crook in jail where he belongs.
Wait, oh,
And
talk about Eric. Oh, yes.
Myself.
Would any of you accept Mayor Adams' endorsement?
No.
Mr. Mamdani.
No.
No.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes, I would.
Mr. Sliwa.
Absolutely not.
Let's
Put that crook
go.
in jail where he
Fuck
belongs.
Eric Adams.
And final, a fun
Fuck
one.
you,
Be careful.
bitch.
Be
Pack
careful.
watch.
What is your favorite live music venue in New York City, Mr. Sliwa?
Oh, chain smokers. EDM.
Under the K Bridge, I presume.
That's right, the Kosciuszko Bridge.
Mr. Mamdani.
Forest Hill Stadium.
Mr. Cuomo.
Under the Kosciuszko Bridge.
Have you seen a show under the K Bridge? Who'd you see?
No, I picked up my daughters at a show there. That's as close as I got.
Candidates, it's time for the cross-examination round. That's where each candidate gets a chance to ask one question of one rival.
Let's go.
The
We're
order was
getting
selected at
messy,
random.
boys.
We're going to begin with Curtis Sliwa.
Zohran, you talk about free. But we know that somebody's got to pay for it, and that's you, the taxpayers. And that's going to lead to bankruptcy. The only reason that Zohran is on the stage is because of the failed Governor Cuomo, who was rejected by the Democrats in the primary and rejected by 13 women who charged you with sexual harassment. You ever know that no means no? You know what no means?
Your question is to Mr. Mamdani.
Cuomo.
Who was your
Well,
question
we
to?
can bifurcate it, right?
No. You can't. Who was your question
It's
to?
to Cuomo.
Okay. Your response, Mr. Cuomo.
I'm not sure what the man said, but The situation, my legal situation, as we discussed before, was fully litigated. I was dropped from the cases. If anyone has a legal situation to talk about, I think it's Mr. Sliwa, who runs the Guardian Angels, and apparently as a charitable donation, but never filed any tax returns for the Guardian Angels, and has been accepting charitable donations, which is just a crime and tax fraud. So I think that's the person I was explaining.
My favorite anime boss fight: sexual abuser versus tax evader. I don't even know. I don't know if that's true about Curtis Sliwa. I'm going to be honest, but I do know that what he said about Andrew Cuomo is definitely true.
To do.
Okay, your turn to ask a question, Mr. Cuomo.
To Zohran, I believe, as we've stated, that you have been a divisive force in New York, and I believe that's toxic energy for New York. It's with the Jewish community. It's with the Italian-American community when you give the Columbus statue the finger. It's with the Sunni Muslims when you say decriminalize prostitution.
He was an Italian-American hero is what he was. And we respect Christopher Columbus in this house. Christopher Columbus was Jewish, by the way. New genealogy findings let us know that Christopher Columbus was Jewish. Also, my favorite Christopher Columbus fact is that the only reason he sailed to the New World was because he wanted to fuck the Queen of Spain. Gave the Columbus statue the finger. Christopher Columbus got tried for brutality after he came back from the Americas and people in Europe found out about what he did. He was a disgusting human being.
Which is haram. It's the Hindus. But then you take a picture with Rebecca Kadaga, Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda. You take a picture with your father. You're smiling. He's smiling. She's known as Rebecca Gay Killer Kadaga. You're a citizen of Uganda. You took the picture. You said you didn't know who she was. It turns out you did. How do you not renounce your citizenship or demand BDS against Uganda for imprisoning people who are gay just by their sexual orientation? Isn't that a basic violation of human rights?
I think he gets the question.
My politics is consistent, and my politics is built.
Throwing people in jail for being gay is wrong, if that's true. But no one in New York gives a fuck about Ugandan politics, Andrew Cuomo. This is like you are once again speaking to nobody. You are speaking to your personal beef with Zohran Mamdani.
On a belief in human rights for all people. And that extends to queer and trans New Yorkers, and it extends to queer and trans Ugandans. And had I known that the first deputy minister was the architect of that legislation, I would not have taken that photo. And yet I also know that this constant attempt to smear and slander me is an attempt to also distract from the fact that, unlike myself, you do not actually have a platform or a set of policies to protect those same New Yorkers here. All you have are the insults that you have lobbed at every single opportunity you have.
Yeah, okay. No, that's it. Cross-examination is just a question and answer. Your turn to ask a question.
Mr. Cuomo, in 2021, 13 different women who worked in your administration credibly accused you of sexual harassment. Since then, you have spent more than $20 million in taxpayer funds to defend yourself, all while describing these allegations as entirely political. You have even gone so far as to legally go after these women. One of those women, Charlotte Bennett, is here in the audience this evening. You sought to access her private gynecological records. She cannot speak up for herself because you lodged a defamation case against her. I, however, can speak. What do you say to the 13 women that you sexually harassed?
If you want to be in government, then you have to be serious and mature. There were allegations of sexual
I'm not perverted. I'm just Italian.
harassment. They were then went to 5 district attorneys, fully litigated for 4 years. The cases were dropped, right? You know that as a fact. So everything you just stated, you just said was a misstatement, which we're accustomed to.
Everything that I stated was a misstatement?
Yes, because the cases were dropped. That's what happened. And my question to you, you still didn't answer, why won't you say BDS against Uganda for saying gays should be imprisoned for being gay?
Okay.
You have no problem with BDS against Israel, but no BDS for Uganda.
This is just one question.
Because is the U.S. investing in Uganda? Oh my God. Two things. One, as I mentioned before, just because these cases were dropped doesn't mean that Andrew Cuomo is not guilty. Two, the BDS movement against Israel is because American companies, American companies, American corporations, and American institutions are investing in the state of Israel and doing business within the state of Israel. Are they doing that for Uganda? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think that Columbia University is currently looking to build a campus in Uganda, like how they're trying to do in Tel Aviv.
One answer. We all heard it. Thank you very much, candidates. Brian.
Our next topic is education. The
Hell
next
yeah.
mayor will oversee the largest school system in the United States, as you know, with roughly 900,000 students, thousands of schools, and billions of dollars in budget. We have an education question for each of you. Mr. Mamdani, you said you would give up mayoral control of schools and share decision-making with various stakeholders. But in the last debate, you said you're still for mayoral accountability for educational outcomes. This has confused some people about how you can give up final authority but still hold yourself accountable. Can you try to clarify that?
I remain opposed to mayoral control, and I also believe that the mayor is accountable for that which happens in this city. I will not shirk that accountability, even when we are putting together a system that has greater involvement for parents, for educators, for students. Look, 1 in 300 Americans is a student in the New York City public school system. This is a system where we are failing to deliver excellence to students, to teachers, to parents, and it is time to have a mayor who understands not only the crisis in front of us, but the fact that we have to change our ways if we want to change our results. And that is what we are running on, a plan for the future, not to simply relitigate the past.
Mr. Sliwa, you recently proposed reducing the education budget by $10 billion, or about 25%, to help pay for tax cuts. But your website includes things like, quote, hire more therapists, expand services for students with learning differences, build new vocational high schools, restore arts programs, expand athletic programs, and increase teacher pay to attract and retain top talent. Those are all exact quotes from your website. How do you defund the education department by 25% to cut taxes, add in the Trump administration's various cuts, and do all those expansions at the same time?
Well, let me tell you, you have a bureaucracy at the Tweed Courthouse. Perfect place to house the Department of Education because of the corruption in the top ranks. You have 13 deputy chancellors. You have about 50 department heads. Nobody at the school level ever deals with them. $41,000 we pay per student, and teachers still have to reach into their pockets to pay for basic supplies. You cut at the top, contracts that have been negotiated that have not been overseen. You will save millions and millions of dollars. And yes, you open up the schools as it was when I went to public school. After-school center, night center, weekend center, not just sports, but culture, plays, musicals. People used to be able to take instruments home when they were in band and orchestra. That attracted children. 1/3 of our children don't even come to school each day. And we need more vocational training like we had when I was growing up. That's been depleted. And more charter schools. We need to raise the cap and have more charter schools for the children who have been waiting to get in for years.
No, we don't need more charter schools. We need to fucking take all of the money that we give to charter schools and give it to the state-run schools. You're not giving $10 billion to all of the fucking bureaucrats in the public education system. Like, that's just fucking ridiculous. There's not $10 billion worth of bloat. The school budget isn't 25% of the school budget is not bloat. That's insane.
Question from Mr. Cuomo.
Thanks, Brian. Mr. Cuomo, there's currently a state law to reduce class sizes in the city. You recently described the law as, quote, reckless, and proposed that popular schools be exempted from this law. You also want to start closing low-performing schools, one of the most controversial policies of Mayor Bloomberg. Would you defy the class size law? And if you close existing schools rather than work to improve them, what specifically helps the kids learn more and where?
Yeah, the common denominator on all these things is, the question is, what is your plan to change things, and what is your ability and experience to do it? These are management challenges.
Yes, the subtext of the question is, how would you fix this? Because you're running to be the mayor of New York City. You are running for political office where your whole job is to fix things that are broken. So yes, that is going to be the subtext of all of these questions.
And I have managed large bureaucracies. The Department of Education, we lost 1 million students. What's happening is young families have to make a decision when their child has to go to school. They're deciding to go to the suburbs, go to Jersey. They're not going to sacrifice their kid. So it is a terrible problem for the entire city, the shrinking public school system. I would double the gifted and talented programs, double the number of specialized high schools, keep the SAT, and keep mayoral control. It is wholly inconsistent to say, I think it's a top priority, but I want to give up mayoral control, but I want to be a mayor who runs grocery stores. Forget the grocery stores. Run the Department of Education. It was the most single instrumental reform. Mayor Bloomberg was right. The mayor in Boston and Chicago, don't give up mayoral control.
So here's why that's potentially a bad take, because your secession of control over the school system means that more highly qualified individuals would be able to run that department. None of these people are educators. They do not know the specificities of running the Department of Education. It's only acceptable to relinquish mayoral control so long as the individuals who are put in charge of this agency are competent. But Zohran even said, regardless, he's still going to be accountable, which is something that I really like from him. In football, the head coach may or may not call all of the plays. They may only call offensive plays, they may only call defensive plays, but at the end of the game, win or lose, they are getting blamed or praised depending on what the outcome is. And being in politics functions in a similar vein. You could be a mayor, you could be a governor, you could be the president. Ultimately, whatever happens is either your doing or your fault, regardless of how involved in it you are or not.
The class size law.
The problem with the class size law is a nice idea. The state didn't send the money. The state has not been doing its fair share for the city. If you have a nice idea, that's nice. Send the money.
And just a fact check, I don't think we lost 1 million students. We have just about under 1 million students in the DOE system. But just a quick show of hands.
I'm sorry, yes.
And just a show of hands, no talking. Who is in favor of the cell phone ban in schools? Raise your hands. Everyone has raised their hands. They all are in favor of the cell phone ban. Thank you.
Okay. Candidates, I want to talk about Rikers Island. Under city law, the jail complex on Rikers is supposed to close in 2027. That's something that the next mayor is going to have to navigate. The population, however, has only gone up. It's surpassing 7,000 detainees, and a judge this year put Rikers on a path toward federal receivership. So here's the question. As mayor, will you commit...
It is way overpopulated as well, by the way, Rikers Island is, because you have individuals there who are awaiting, they're in detention pre-trial for minor infractions.
To the closure of Rikers Island as required, and if not, what is your alternative plan? We'll start with you, Mr. Sliwa.
Number one, the architect for the closing of Rikers Island is on this stage. That's former Governor Andrew Cuomo. He was the first, and his apprentice is Zohran Mamdani. No, you keep Rikers Island open. There are 7 functioning buildings, 3 others that need to be rehabbed. You can move those who have mental health issues and give them the treatment they need as long as they're detained on Rikers Island. Some people do a year of time if they're given that in the courts rather than be shipped upstate. So there are a variety of inmates. We have allocated $8 billion for 4 community jails. The price tag is now up to $16 billion and will only house 4,000 of the 7,000. Guess what? We keep the inmates on Rikers Island, and we turn those 4 units in the neighborhoods into affordable housing that we've all been clamoring for.
What about the law that requires the closing?
Oh, you go into court. You fight. You fight for the taxpayers, and you fight to keep inmates on Rikers Island so that we don't just have to lock up toothpaste in New York City, but we lock up inmates.
Mr. Cuomo.
There's a really... Some shit is just so simple, man. Rikers Island is a correctional facility. However, not everyone in that facility deserves to be there. It houses a wide array of criminals, whether they're violent, nonviolent, and drug offenses, gun offenses. You could easily take someone who was caught selling drugs, for example, and just put them on house arrest leading up to their trial. There's no reason for somebody to sit in a jail cell before they've been convicted of doing a crime. Put an ankle bracelet on them, put them at their house, make sure they're not a flight risk, and you don't have the overcrowded jail. And eventually, if you do have more serious offenders, you can send them to higher level institutions, thereby closing Rikers Island and again saving more money for the taxpayer. Rikers Island is a human rights violation. It should close. It should not be allowed to remain open.
The Zohran has said he'd honor the law closing Rikers in 2027. You can't. You can't. Unless you intend to release all the people on Rikers Island, which is the Democratic Socialist policy. The county jails are not going to be built. It was a mistake. The whole plan was a mistake. They are years late, billions over budget. I would say scrap the county jails, build new jails on Rikers Island, provide ferry and bus transportation for people from the other boroughs to visit on Rikers Island, and then use the existing 4 sites for commercial residential. But you cannot close Rikers on 2027 because there's no place to put the people unless you're going to release 7,000 people.
Well, you're familiar with the idea that a law is passed, it's supposed to be followed, even if it's difficult, even if the timeline is screwed up, even if the money's not there.
Yeah, so then, which is Zohran's position, then you're saying release the 7,000 people. And I'm saying I'm not going to release 7,000 criminals into New York City.
Mr. Mamdani.
There is no one on this stage that is saying that. Yet Andrew Cuomo will repeat it again and again. What I have said time and again, I'll repeat it again, is that yes, we have to close Rikers Island. Rikers Island is a stain on the history of this city. And that this current administration has made it nearly impossible to do so by the stipulated timeline. So what I will do is everything in my power to try and meet that deadline, knowing that Eric Adams has made it so difficult because he's had no interest in actually following through on it. And as much as you will hear about experience and running a government, what Andrew Cuomo doesn't seem to understand is the city has already entered into contracts for these borough-based jails, and to end those contracts would be to incur massive fiscal penalties, but that's not something that he seems to care about, even as he speaks about the fiscal stewardship of this city.
If I may, you want to talk to me about running government or managing projects? I built the 2nd Avenue subway. I built the Mario Cuomo Bridge, the largest infrastructure project in the United States of America, $5 billion, on time, on budget. 2nd Avenue subway, Moynihan train hall. Of course there's
The only reason that they built the bridge that fast was because he built it in honor of his fucking dad, dude. It's not like... It's not some remarkable fucking project that, I mean, they built the bridge. It's pretty remarkable, but it was because it was built in honor of his fucking dad. Andrew Cuomo built one fucking subway line and is acting like he's goddamn Fidel Castro. Like, dude, you did the bare minimum while in fucking state office. Nobody wants the bare minimum anymore.
The question is going to be, how much more does it cost to finish the jail, and are you better off cutting your losses? That's the question in the discussion, and you sit down with the contractor and you negotiate. Yeah. But your position of, I'm going to close it on 2027, the question is yes or no. Do you close it in 2027? You still have an answer.
You will hear from Andrew Cuomo about his experience as if the issue is that we don't know about it. The issue is that we have all experienced your experience. The issue is that we experienced you taking a $5 million book deal while you sent seniors to their deaths in nursing homes. The issue is that we experienced you cutting funding for the MTA to send money to upstate ski resorts. The issue is that we saw you give $959 million in tax breaks to Elon Musk. The issue is your experience.
No, the only thing, the issue is you have no experience. You've accomplished nothing. You haven't proposed a bill on anything, and you still haven't said if you close Rikers in 2027.
Does Andrew Cuomo not realize that people don't give a fuck about experience? Does he realize that Donald Trump is a 2-time president of the goddamn United States? No one gives a fuck about experience when all the previous experience fucked them over. That is what Zohran is correctly highlighting here.
The answer to the questions I was asking. Thanks very much. Let's move on.
My next question is about another law that's already on the books. The city has a climate law, Local Law 97, that will require a large percentage of the buildings in the city to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030 or face financial penalties. As you know, some co-ops, condos, and landlords are afraid of crushing expenses, but buildings account for 70% of the city's climate pollution emissions, so reduction would need to include that sector. You all have taken different positions on this. I want our viewers and listeners to hear each of you, starting with Mr. Cuomo in this case. Would you abide by and make others abide by Local Law 97 as it stands?
As it stands,
Yes.
as it stands, you're going to have to be flexible in the application. What's going to happen now is many companies will just pay the fine because it's cheaper than actually following the rules. And that's the last thing you want. That accomplishes nothing, right? It's just another tax, in essence, on these units. So there's going to have to be flexibility. It's the right intent. It's the right
So make the fine larger. I don't see what the issue is.
goal, but how you implement it has to deal with reality and the costs. Again, otherwise, I can tell you, I've had this conversation with many of them. They're not even going to try. They're just going to pay the fine.
What kind of flexibility? If you could be
It's going to be
specific.
timing, and what do we mean, and can it be phased in?
Mr. Mamdani.
The climate crisis is one of the most pressing crises facing this city, and we deserve to take it on with the urgency it requires. It is right now easier to pay the fine than to actually comply with this legislation. We have to ensure that we make it easier for condo and co-op owners to follow these laws, and we do that by eliminating the application fees for J51, by extending that tax credit, by also creating a one-stop shop in New York City government that procures at a large scale heat pumps and the very kind of infrastructure needed to comply. We've seen this happen before with clean energy work that's been done in Woodside houses. It's time to bring that kind of work right here so that we can ensure full compliance with Local Law 97.
I read that you're proposing the city buy those heat pumps and other tech in bulk and give them to landlords and other buildings for free. Is that accurate?
No, it's to actually ensure that they can afford the cost of these things by purchasing using an economy of scale.
Thank you, Mr. Sliwa.
I'm the only one on this stage totally opposed to Local 97. 100,000 condo and co-op owners. Their maintenance fees will go up 30%. They won't have enough reserve fees. You're going to see massive flight from the co-ops and condos. Now, they want to electrify everything. Well, there's a man on the stage who took Indian Point offline. That was 25% of our electrical output. We haven't been able to meet the need since. And as a result, they're now starting to build, because of the city of yes that I'm opposed, these lithium-ion battery warehouses. Where? Staten Island 38, Brooklyn 12, 8 in Queens, 4 in the Bronx, and none in Manhattan? Oh, no. They're going to electrify, and they don't have the electrical output. So I say no to Local 97. And when I'm mayor, I tell all my commissioners, throw a monkey wrench into the process. We slow it down because we want these condo owners and co-op owners to stay.
Mr. Cuomo, you were name-checked on Indian Point?
I think I was. Indian Point was a danger. It was the nuclear power plant most closely located to the densest population. There was no nuclear plant on the globe that close to a city. There were 20 million people in what was called the kill zone. Before I became Attorney General, there had been a number of lawsuits to stop it. What we did is we brought cables down from upstate New York, down the Hudson River. We have nuclear upstate. We're in rural areas to bring that nuclear power down the cables, and then on that basis substitute for Indian Point's power.
Yes or no? Would
Electricity rates are too high to pay because of you, Andrew
just
Cuomo.
yes or
Yeah,
no?
like you
Would
know
any
what
of
you're
you
talking about.
support new nuclear power plants to help bring down the rising cost of utilities in New York State? Just yes or no, Mr. Sliwa?
Upstate, they're already starting, yes.
Mr. Mamdani?
I think it's something worth exploring.
Mr. Cuomo?
Is that a yes?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Katie?
We're going to move on now to the economy. Ms. Mamdani, you're proposing to raise the city's minimum wage to $30 an hour by 2030. How would you get the state legislature to go along with your plan? And do you think it's realistic to feel that a small business owner would have to pay every employee this amount, especially when the city currently doesn't mandate that figure for its own public employees? And I have separate questions for Mr. Sliwa and Mr. Cuomo.
So this would be something where the city would have to start doing so as well, because any law that we want New Yorkers to follow, the city should be following it itself. And the reason that we put forward $30 by 2030 is that that's the minimum that a New Yorker needs to be paid to be able to afford to live in this city. And what we are looking at right now is the possibility of the place that we know and love becoming a museum of where working class people used to be able to live. Our proposal that we've put forward would be phased in over a longer period of time for small business owners to ensure that they could deal with this. And it's also one that we are confident we would be able to accomplish because of the fact fact that we are seeing from New Yorkers time and time again, the absence of it is pushing them to live in Jersey City, to live in Pennsylvania, to live in Connecticut, because they can't afford to live in New York City.
Thank you. And for Mr. Sliwa and Mr. Cuomo, if you're not in favor of a
$30 minimum wage is also what the minimum wage should be when adjusted for inflation over the last, 50 years or so. So $30 minimum wage on paper sounds kind of crazy, but 15 or 16, whatever it is in New York City is still, pretty low when you consider how fucking expensive it is to live there.
Wage. What are your plans to raise the salaries of workers in New York City? We'll start with you, Mr. Sliwa.
First off, Zohran Mamdani deals with fantasy, not reality. Look at all the Uber drivers. Look at all the taxi drivers, the Lyft drivers. They will now have driverless cars. That's what they're pushing. AI that's going to be wiping out so many jobs, especially for young men and women who went to school, got their 4 years of college, 2-year degree, and they're making $155,000, and then they get wiped out. You know what the corporate sector is going to do. They're going to bring in robotics. Zohran, stop dealing with fantasy and start dealing with reality. You're pushing businesses out because you want to tax them. I'm the only one here who wants to cut the corporate taxes, the income tax, the property tax we can cut in order to keep business here. But if you raise the minimum wage too high, they're going to end up going in a different direction, and they're not going to hire workers. It's going to be robots and driverless cars and AI, and I'm opposed to that.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Cuomo.
actually not true at all. You can go to California. They do have driverless cars in California, which is very dystopian, and I don't like it. And I did say my piece about that when I came back from California, but California minimum wage, $20 for fast food. I don't see fucking robots in McDonald's. Also, cutting fucking corporate taxes it only hurts the city because the city generates less tax revenue. Curtis Sliwa also deals in fantasy. He lives in the fantasy of neoliberalism. He talks a big game about being pro-working class and a populist. But why are you not a true populist? If you care so much about the working class, why do you not want corporations to be taxed more than them? Why do you want Amazon to pay fucking $0 in taxes? They do that at the federal level, not the state level. But my point remains, why are you trying to make corporations and wealthy people not pay their fair share, despite the fact that you claim to be a populist?
Yeah, I half agree with Curtis. Zohran does have socialist theory colliding with practical reality. I went through this. We raised the minimum wage to the highest in the United States of America. New York set the bar. We set it at $15. Every other state said, that's crazy when we did it. People in the state said that was crazy when we did it. But it was calibrated. It was doable. We phased it in different parts of the state. We phased it in with small businesses. We gave them assistance. Because if
For those of you who don't know, different regions of New York have different minimum wage laws. So the highest minimum wage is New York City. The second highest minimum wage is Long Island and Westchester, I believe. And then upstate New York has a little bit lower minimum wage. I think it's $14.50.
Raise it too high, and I believe 30 is too high. I would raise it to 20. If you raise it to too high, you do two things. People lose their jobs. You bankrupt businesses. You're talking about basically doubling payroll. And you can have a negative effect where literally businesses close and people lose their jobs. And overall, again, it's another tax on corporations, another reason to leave New York, another reason to pack up the family and get on I-95 and go to South Carolina and Florida and Texas.
All right.
So Andrew Cuomo is basically like, think of the corporations here. Think about all the extra money that the corporations are going to have to pay. That's it. Like, it doesn't matter because the people are fucking got him, dude. Look at that. Look at that little fucking bitch. The people who live in New York want to make more money. They don't give a fuck about the corporations. They don't give a fuck about the corporations because the CEOs and the C-suite and the shareholders have multiple fucking yachts and helicopters while these people can't even afford their fucking rent. This pro-corporate propaganda is not going to work. Socialism is beginning to become more and more popular here in the United States because it is very obvious that capitalism does not fucking work for the 99%.
Coming down the home stretch, I want to alert our media partners, especially we're going to go over by 5 minutes, and we're going to have Brian lead a conversation about transit.
Right, and we're going to have to do this very briefly to each of you because you each have transit things to answer to. Mr. Cuomo, you say the city should take partial control of New York City transit away from the MTA, which is mostly controlled by the state. Would the city then have to foot more of the bill? And if this is a good idea, why didn't you propose it as governor?
The capital thing is, first of all, New York City owns the New York City Transit Authority, not the MTA. It leases the trains and subways to the MTA. And then the question is the division of responsibility. New York City does the safety along with the MTA. The problem the MTA is having is the capital construction projects. It has been an ongoing problem. I came in, I took over Moynihan and finished it. I came in and took over Second Avenue Subway, the L train tunnel. The capital construction projects are way overdue.
Would it fall more on the city to pay?
I would say no. There is a budget set. My only point is the MTA, which is a labyrinth bureaucracy set up by Rockefeller, which should have never been done in the first place. It's an overwhelming task for the greatest managers, and I hired both of them. But let the city manage the capital construction from the MTA budget.
Mr. Mamdani, make your case briefly for your proposal for free buses for everybody, even those who can afford to pay.
First I'll just say that one of the most celebrated leaders of the New York City Transit was Andy Byford, who had such a terrible experience working under Andrew Cuomo that he would rather work under Donald Trump right now. The proposal that we have put forward addresses the fact that today, in the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, 1 in 5 New Yorkers cannot afford the bus fare. It would cost $700 million a year to make the slowest buses in the country fast and free. And by doing so, we would generate more than double in economic revenue for New Yorkers across the city. It would be something that would reduce assaults on bus drivers, it would increase ridership on those buses, and it would actually have environmental impacts, as fewer New Yorkers would drive their own car or take a taxi and would instead get on the bus. And I know all of this because I delivered it as a state assembly member who won the first free buses in New York City's history.
And Mr. Sliwa, you're...
But how are we going to pay for it? How are we going to pay for $700 million? Well, just for some comparison, the NYPD budget is like $12 billion. But it's never, how are we going to pay for that?
Your website, according to my reading, has a section on transit safety, but nothing on transit service. Do you have any core proposals for improving it?
Oh, sure. First off, Zohran, I get a good belly laugh.
Zohran.
Oh, all right. I'll keep practicing.
I got you.
I get a good belly laugh every time I hear you say free fare in the subways. Half the people don't pay anyway. How about fair enforcement? I'm the only one who says we have all kinds of fare programs for the indigent and the poor. But if you don't pay your fare, there needs to be enforcement. And by the way,
Curtis Sliwa wants to send people to jail for fare evasion. It sounds like. Who gives a fuck if people don't pay the fare? Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Jump the turnstile, man. I don't give a fuck. I'm just kidding. This is not legal advice. It is technically illegal. Don't do that. But if you do, I'm not going to snitch on you. All right? I've seen plenty of people jump the fare during my time in New York City. And I said, you know what? Good for them. Who gives a shit?
I've taken the subway almost every day of my life since I was 5. The worst time was the summer of 2017, the summer of hell, Andrew Cuomo, when you were running the subway system as the head of the MTA. I don't trust you with anything to do with mass transit.
Why would you, how would you make it better?
Oh, very simply. Everybody pays their fare, enforcement, more cops in the subway system. And by the way, we can get more people to voluntarily actually sponsor their subway system stations, clean it up and beautify them and add some life so the community has input into the subway that they have to go through the sleaze and slime all the time.
All right, candidates, we've got just a couple of minutes. Let's have another quick lightning round where each candidate will answer my questions with a quick response, usually yes or no. Name one person you'd like to see run for president in 2028, Mr. Sliwa.
Wow, in 2028. Man, I'm dealing right now with 2025.
Mr. Mamdani.
My only focus is on November.
Mr. Cuomo.
I haven't thought it through.
Okay. We have a city of hundreds of languages and cultures. Can you greet New Yorkers in a language other than your own? Mr. Cuomo.
Ciao. Buenos dias.
Ni hao, the pongyo.
Okay.
Buona fortuna per 100 anni.
Okay. Have you decided on a school's chancellor, Mr. Sliwa?
Yes, I would ask Bob Holden, who's taught 40 years. He leads Democrats for Sliwa.
Okay. Mr. Mamdani.
No, I haven't decided on a chancellor as yet.
Okay. Should people be arrested for the solicitation of sex, Mr. Sliwa?
No, the Johns, yes, the pimps, the madams, and the absentee landlords.
Okay. Mr. Mamdani.
No.
Mr. Cuomo.
Zohran's decriminalization for prostitutes, johns, and pimps would be a disaster on the quality of life in
They
New
should be
York
arrested,
City.
you say? Should people be arrested for soliciting sex?
It is a criminal offense. I would keep it as it is.
Okay. Last question. Can you name one thing that New York got right during the COVID crisis? Mr. Sliwa.
New York got right. Oh, wow. He didn't get anything right during the COVID crisis. No.
Mr. Mamdani.
It only took me 15 minutes to get my vaccine shot when I went for that, and that was an efficient experience.
Mr. Cuomo.
Thank you for the compliment.
That was a city-run vaccine
All
site.
right,
No,
gentlemen.
it wasn't.
Thanks so much, gentlemen. That is going to do
still have to learn
it
something.
for this debate. I would like to thank the candidates and our partners and
All right. Yes. Thank you to the candidates. Thank you to all the partners. Overall, a very enjoyable debate, more so from Zohran and Curtis Sliwa. As I said in the beginning, as much as I clowned on Curtis during this debate and as much as I disagree with him vehemently, he at least believes in his policy prescription, which as someone who covers politics, I do have to respect. You have obviously the husk of Andrew Cuomo, who I think should be barred from participating in politics for the rest of his life. My opinions still remain unchanged. Zohran is clearly the best in this race. Curtis Sliwa is clearly ahead of Andrew Cuomo. I do think that Zohran is the best pick to be the mayor of New York City. If I lived in New York City, I would vote for him. I would vote for him 1,000 times out of 1,000. This debate didn't change anything for me. Zohran is still strong. Curtis Sliwa is still a Republican in this race, but he at least cares about New York City. Andrew Cuomo is a disgusting freak, and I do have to give myself a little bit of a pat on the back. This was a 90-minute segment. We did watch it on 1.25 speed, but I'm currently at just about 2 hours of showtime, which is only a little bit longer than my typical output. I'm very excited to see how this week of early voting plays out. I'm very excited to be watching on Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th. I think it's going to be a very exciting experience, not just for New York City, but if Zohran were to win, it would be a very exciting moment for the progressive movement, overall within the United States of America. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out for today. Thank you guys so very much for coming to hang out. Everything I'm associated with is linked down below. Follow me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a like and a comment on any of the videos if you enjoy them. Both of those help out tremendously with the algorithm. If you're watching this on Spotify, follow the show over there, as well as leave a rating. As always, stay safe, stay sane, and I will see you in the next one.